Hey, Ryan here with another social skills video. Today I'm going to go through the advantages of being an introvert in social situations. A lot of people talk about being an introvert and describe it as an inherent disadvantage for social skills. I really do not believe that that's the case. I'm naturally a very introverted person myself, and I've learned how to turn that into an advantage, and I'm going to go through that today. I would also personally argue that actually overall being an introvert is better for social skills than being an extrovert if we had to pick one of the two. First of all, the way that people tend to use these terms, introvert and extrovert, is a really oversimplified view of social skills and social situations. Some people might be introverts in some situations and not in others, or it can be around certain people. They can suddenly have bursts of energy and talk loads and then stop for a while afterwards, something I do sometimes. And generally, I try to stay away as much as reasonably possible from categorizing either other people or myself. If you say that someone is an introvert or you are an introvert or any other category that you could give to someone, you are simplifying their personality. If you're using it on yourself, then you're simplifying your own personality. If we looked at every single person in the world who's an introvert, every single person who's an extrovert, every single person who is autistic or has any other label that you could attach, a narcissist, they could be gay or straight or from a certain country or whatever, there's going to be loads of differences in those people. They're not all going to be the same. So I think using categories like this is something people do too much. I don't never use them, but I try to stay away from it as much as I can. And I feel like that makes you more accurate in terms of how you understand other people and how you understand yourself. If you try to look at that person as them rather than they are X, Y, or Z. But just for the sake of this video and my explanation, let's take the stereotypical extrovert and the stereotypical introvert. So the stereotypical extrovert, most people would say, has an advantage in social situations. The advantage that the extrovert has, which is much more obvious, is that they can speak to people more easily, they feel more compelled to do that, and they get emotionally tired slower. Some people say that the extrovert gains energy from speaking to people, whereas the introvert loses energy. Again, a massive oversimplification because it can change depending on the situation and tons of other stuff happening at the same time. So this is an obvious benefit to social skills that the stereotypical extrovert has and doesn't really have to put any effort into trying to use on purpose. The introvert has some advantages that I think are overall more powerful, but they're less obvious and they're a little bit harder to actually go and use until you get used to doing it. First, quickly, just a brief explanation on social battery. I made a whole video on this a while ago. If you want to see that, then I'll try and leave a link here. So basically, the way that I understand social battery is if your social battery gets drained, then that's going to be because while you were socializing, you were having a higher total strength of negative emotions compared to the strength of positive emotions. That doesn't necessarily mean that you don't like who you're hanging out with. You might like them, you might enjoy hanging out with them, but it might be the case that social situations in general make you feel nervous or stressed, or perhaps some other emotions in some cases. So if the total of nervousness plus stress, for example, is more than the total of the fun that you're having and the happiness that you get from hanging out with someone, then you start to stack up a debt of the emotions. And then eventually, once it passes a certain threshold at some point, now you're going to feel like you need to rest. Similar to how you need to rest if you're awake for long enough, you end up needing to go to sleep, obviously. If you don't eat food for long enough, then you end up getting hungry and needing food. So this social battery doesn't necessarily have to die out. If you can get to the point where you are able to consistently have more good emotions than bad, and by that I just mean ones that feel good versus feel bad, then you will be able to socialize without running out of social battery. You'll be able to go until either the situation ends, or you need to sleep, or you need to eat food. I mean, you can socialize while you eat food, obviously. So that simple equation of if you have more negative strength than positive, eventually you're going to drain your social battery versus the other way around, you gain momentum instead. That doesn't have to involve talking loads. That is based on how you're feeling. So the extrovert has that more often if we look at things on average, but you can create that situation as an introvert as well. In my experience and observation, I would say that on average, introverts are better at controlling their emotions than extroverts. I obviously haven't recorded loads of data or done a study or something. That's based off my observations and stuff from coaching social skills for over 13 years and seeing different situations and constantly assessing things. Makes sense as well, because if introverts are spending, or a stereotypical introvert at least, is spending more time thinking in their own mind, then chances are that's going to result in them getting better at managing their own thoughts and emotions. Being good at being able to control your emotions as much as you can. So if you're a bit better than beforehand, that's an improvement. This is the most important thing in social skills by miles. The second most important thing is how fast you can think. And the third most important thing I'd say is taking risks. So introverts having on average better ability to control their emotions is a really powerful strength in social skills. The thing is though, that most people aren't really thinking about this stuff in much depth. If you do something as simple as just have an objective in your mind to try to nudge your emotions closer to a more optimum point, which I would say in most situations you want high confidence, enthusiasm, creativity, and humor a lot of the time as well, then you're doing better than like 99% of people straight away. Most people aren't even setting a goal in their own mind to try to have certain emotions. So it's just stuff as simple as that, because no one really seems to be trying to work on social skills that much, apart from me basically, and I guess some other people, then this is already a massive step up. The other advantage that introverts definitely have is being better at listening on average. Obviously, there's always exceptions. This is something that is actually easy to do, to be good at listening, but not that many people end up being good listeners. And it's a really effective thing to be good at. Most people prefer to talk about themselves. I would say about 8 out of 10 people prefer to talk about themselves more rather than listen. So if you're someone who prefers listening, then this makes you a better match with more people for a start, and also makes it way easier to build connection with people, understand people more, and be able to work out what's a good option for something to say or do, or different social moves you might make. So if you're an introvert who's watching this video, first of all, I'd probably lay off the categorizing yourself a bit, but you can purposely make use of both of these things. So for managing emotions, just make an objective to aim to do that. As soon as you've done that, it starts to make some progress. To go through all of the different ways you can control your emotions would take about 40 hours at some point. I'd like to make a massive video on that, but that's sometime in the future. And you can make use of being a better listener by, rather than worrying so much about when you're going to talk, are you saying enough, etc., use the fact that you're listening to be able to create more pinpointed, better, higher quality questions and points that you can add to the conversation at the right time. If you do this, the combination of you having good stuff to say and not talking as much will most of the time result in, when you talk, people instantly pay attention quite a lot more. If you've watched some of my other videos, you will have come across me probably quite a few times talking about how speed is more important than quality for social skills. It might seem at first like what I just said is contradicting that, but it's not. So allow me to explain. If you are taking a bit of time and you're picking more high quality questions and points to say, using listening skills as an advantage rather than more talking, this is not thinking slowly. You can still be thinking fast, but you just end up saying less stuff. So when I say speed is more important than quality, I'm referring to in your thinking processing power, in your thoughts, not necessarily your actions. You can also talk slow, but yet be thinking fast as well. I tend to talk quite fast. That's more kind of my style. I like giving more information in a shorter time. Also, people from my area of England tend to talk pretty fast as well culturally. So that's a bit of an explanation on introvert versus extrovert and how you can use being more introverted as a strength. And I also think, as I said, that is ultimately more of a strength. It's just harder to use it as a strength for a bunch of reasons. There's two really powerful, important points that introverts tend to be better at: controlling emotions and listening. And also because there's more people who prefer to talk about themselves than listen, it means that you're more in a demand bracket. The same as if there was only 2 out of 10 people were a boy or a girl, then it'd be easier for them to do dating, right? So it's kind of a similar dynamic. And also a suggestion to ultimately not focus so much on categories, because then you lose accuracy in how you're perceiving people. Categories can be useful here and there, but I think they're overused way too much personally. Please like and subscribe if you like this video and you want to support my cause to make the world a better place through helping people with their social skills. We do one-to-one coaching, including a completely free trial session. If you'd like more information on that, go to our website and click the link below in the description. We have a WhatsApp group chat where we discuss social skills, people answer each other's questions and stuff. I'm there, obviously, not in digital format. I exist as a real person. I just type on my phone. The link's in the description as well. And we have a video course on how to not run out of things to say in conversation too. So I'll be making more videos and I'll be back soon. See you later.